Hi guys, it's Myriam and welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be a sketchbook tour of sorts of my 31 Inktober 2018 drawings. I am so happy I'm done. I did overlap a little bit into November, but I have 31 drawings in ink, so I'm pretty bummed. I'm pretty happy I managed to finish it. It was tougher than last year. It took me a bit longer. I had a really busy month, so I'm glad I managed all 31 drawings, and I'm excited to show them all to you. I'm going to keep this intro as short as possible, but if you're literally not interested in hearing me talk at all, I have a no talking flip through video of all the drawings in the description below if you'd rather watch that. Before I jump into showing you all those guys, I quickly wanted to let you know that I have a booklet available for pre-order on my shop. It's a compilation of all my 2018 drawings, so if you're interested in getting one of those, you can head over to the link in my description below. All the pre-orders of my 2018 booklets come with a complimentary postcard of day number 1 and a complimentary sticker. And if you're interested in voting on the sticker design, I have a little poll up on my Patreon page. The link to the poll is in the description below. It's free to access, it's completely public, so you can go and give your vote and let me know which ones you'd rather have as a sticker, and the winner will become their free sticker that goes with all the 2018 pre-orders. I also have a second edition of my 2017 booklet as per popular demand, as a lot of people told me they missed out last year. So you can head over to my shop if you're interested in getting yourself either or both of the booklets. All the originals are now available on my store also. A bunch of them have been reserved or sold already, but if you're interested in grabbing your own little piece of my original art, then you can go there. You can also buy individual prints of each of my 2018 designs. The listing might look a bit confusing, but as long as you click on the image that includes the one print that you want, you can read the description and it's all explained there. You can definitely buy singular prints. You don't have to buy all 4 on the picture. You just need to let me know at note when you check out and leave me a note to seller letting me know the number of the print that you would like to get. I think that's it for me for now. Sorry for all the self-promotion. I realise that it can get a little bit old, but it is my business, so I'm trying to kind of round everything over on this last Inktober video. And now let's jump onto the sketchbook tour? I don't know how to call it. The show and tell of all my Inktober drawings. Okay, so let's jump straight into this. So this was day 1. I titled all my Inktobers this year, and this one is called Brambles. I started off with a pretty intricate concept, which I regretted quite quickly, but doing the brambles was actually quite fun and quite soothing. I could just turn my brain off and just draw. I didn't intend on the eyes to look like flowers, but I like that everyone actually thought they did. I thought that was quite a fun thing that I hadn't thought about. This is actually the only one I think of the whole series where I didn't actually do a black background. I think the rest of this series has a black background, and this one was the only one that didn't. Day 2 was the embrace. And this one I went quite minimal on the hatching. I think I generally tend to do it like that with Inktober. I'm quite shy in the beginning with doing hatching, and then after a while I start becoming a bit more comfortable with my mediums, and I start going into more detail. This one is a strong contender to become a sticker, so I suspect it will become a sticker at some point. This one I was initially not very happy with when I first drew it. I was a bit lost and I was a bit tired and already a bit stressed about Inktober, even though it was just day 3. But the more I look at it now and the more I like it. And it's another one I quite like to make a sticker of, but it would be an oval sticker so that you can see some of the forest. I actually quite like the forest. This is probably my favourite part of the drawing is the trees, and I really enjoy drawing trees with brush pens. I think it's a really good subject with brush pens. It's called The Wind. This one is one of my personal favourites, The Tamer, day 4. I had the idea as soon as I went to bed and I couldn't wait to draw it because I just really liked the concept in my head. So here you go. It goes more or less with, let me find it, this one. Mostly because there's a tiger in both. Also because I just like the idea of the relationship between the human form and the symbolism of the tiger. So this is one of my favorites. I might extend it. I might finish drawing the tiger digitally and maybe do stickers, or maybe put it on a t-shirt or something. I might do that for a few of them this year. I'll keep you updated, obviously. Day 5, them. This had started out being a completely different drawing. I wanted to do something with his shadow, but when I started drawing it, I didn't actually know how to go by the concept I had in mind, and the more I tried, the more I hated it. So I just painted it all black and then added the faces afterwards, and now it's turned out to be one of my personal favourites also, so I'm quite happy with. I actually didn't finish that one on the day I was supposed to. I think I finished it the next day because I was a bit stuck, but I really like that one and I'm really happy with them, and it's called Them. This one is day 6, What Grows in the Shadows. It's another one alongside the idea of shadows. I wanted to do, like I said, a shadow with this concept, but it didn't turn out right, so I had a few more ideas with shadows, so I just went with them for this one, and I think the next one also. This one I posted on Instagram, but not as a full post. It was alongside another drawing, so I think a lot of people may not have seen this one. So here you go. Another one playing on the idea of shadows, and I just really wanted to draw hands, because if you've been following me for a while, you'll know that I just really enjoy drawing hands. I do find it very hard, but I just find them really, really interesting to draw, and I like a challenge, so I want to get more familiar and more comfortable with them, so I always like to add a bunch of them in my drawings. It's called The Pool. This one is actually one that I would like to turn the different components of into stickers. There was an eye initially in this, and I know a few people were quite sad that I erased it when I was doing the time lapse, but it was too much. I didn't actually like it in the composition, so I took it out and I just left the conker shell. These are conkers, by the way. I don't know if everyone has them in their countries. They're really, really common in Europe. They're just these round, shiny, kind of chestnut looking things. They're not edible, but they have these outside shells that are really, really spiky. And I really liked collecting them as a kid. I thought they were like little treasures. And I just like the symbolism of them. So I want to do each of those, so the person in the shell, the head in the shell, and the eye in the shell, as separate colour paintings, and then maybe do a sticker set from that. I'm not entirely sure. Let me know if that's something that you think would be cool and you'd be interested in. This one is day 8, The Shell. This one was a tricky one. I was really tired that day. I think you can see it in the concept I chose to draw. And initially I hadn't put a lot of shading on the ribbons, so they didn't look like ribbons, it just looked like some strange shaped blood. So I went in again the day after, sorry, and updated it a little bit, and I prefer it now. It's called Satin. This one was everyone's favourite when I did it. I think it's day 10, The Mantle. I really wanted to draw black worms either in shadows or in some way or another, and I really wanted to draw animals. And this one is probably one of the most intricate pieces I did for this year's Inktober. A lot of people have said that it reminds them of Princess Mononoke, and it wasn't conscious as a choice, but I can definitely see where everyone's coming from, and I'm pretty sure it has influenced me, just because Ghibli movies are massive influence to me, so I'm sure they had a part to play in this. But this is, yeah, I really enjoyed painting this one. I actually really like drawing animals with brush pens. I think they're really enjoyable, so I think there's a few more animals in the future in this series. This one is called The Stair. It's day 11. I really like this one. It's more along the lines, I think, of my regular work, and it was quite hard to draw because I didn't have any reference for most of the body poses. I had a reference for him, but not really for the others, so it was all a little bit of practice. But I really enjoyed drawing that one, and I thought that the black and white worked quite well, and it was one of the ones where I started using ink washes to add a bit more value. I didn't do that too often in this series, but I did it a few times and it was quite fun. This is day 12, The Wall, another one that's a little bit more along the lines of my 2017 concepts. I really like this one also, although it was tricky to draw. Again, I used a bit more of the wash, and I really like the contrast between the values of the rest of the piece and the body. I like that I kept it quite clean. It was just before I ordered fineliners to start adding contrast and values to the bodies of my characters. This one is day 13, The Gaps, and in this one I had bought some red fineliners. I was using ballpoint pens in my previous drawings if I wanted to add hatching, but in this one I decided to buy some proper red fineliners, and I started doing hatching on my red figures with those, which was really enjoyable. I couldn't do that too much this year because I injured my wrist last year only using hatching, so I had to be careful, but I decided I wanted a little bit more texture and a little bit more value and detail to my figures, so I decided to use them sparingly, but you know, a little bit at least. This one is a strong contender to become the complimentary sticker that goes with the pre-orders for the 2018 booklet that's up on my shop. You can go on my Patreon, as I said at the beginning of the video, if you want to vote for it. I think regardless of whether it wins as a complimentary sticker, I might turn it into a sticker regardless, because I really like this concept. It's also one of my favourites. So this one is more or less reminiscent, let's say, of day 10 with all the animals leaping away in the red forest. I wanted something along the same lines with animals, and I wanted it to have a more peaceful atmosphere, so that's why I went with this. Day 14, The Spring. Day 15, The Trap. I had as an idea, and I still want to paint it actually, I wanted to paint a face with the mouth open and a spider web with a spider in the mouth, just blocking the mouth in a way, but I want to paint that in colour, so I decided to go for a slightly different concept for the drawing, and I just really wanted to draw loads of butterflies, and I wanted them to come off the page a little bit because I like it when it does that, so I decided to do this. And some of the concept I think lend themselves really well to transparent stickers, so I'm thinking of maybe taking the black out and just having the black as transparent for vinyl stickers. I'm not entirely sure, I have to do a lot of Photoshop editing for that to happen, but I'm thinking that could look quite cool. Day 16, The Steps. I wasn't actually that unhappy the day I drew this. I know it might seem to people sometimes that I'm quite gloomy when I draw some of my concepts, but actually I think I was feeling quite well that day. Sometimes I just need to express things anyway, and this one was one of them. I really like this one. It's quite simple in composition, and I needed that, I think, especially after drawing this. I needed something that was a little bit less complex, and that was perfect. Day 17, Treasure Chest. This one I ripped a little bit when I took it off the pad. I'm really sad about it. I'll have to fix that before I send it out to the person who bought it. But this one really made me laugh because everyone kept mentioning, is it Navi, the name of the little fairy in Zelda? Am I getting this right? I played Zelda, but not very much, so I'm not entirely sure I'm getting this right. But everyone kept talking about how it reminded them of Navi and how she goes, "Hey, listen!" And I find that very funny, and yes, I can definitely see it. But I like this one. I wanted something a little bit more peaceful after the heavy weight of this one, and I just went for something with more peacefulness in the expression and a bit more something a bit more light-hearted than what I would usually do, and I really like it. This This one is actually a sketch for a future painting that I've had in my head for a long time and that I really want to paint. It's the 18 dust, and I really like this idea. I think that I should make the dust, well, like the face blow out this way really, but I decided to paint it in portrait, so it made more sense to make it go up. But in the painting I think I'll probably make it kind of go more this way. But I really want to paint it, so I'm hoping I have the time to paint it before the end of the year, because I just like this idea and I really want to put it together. Day 19, The Storm. I actually first drew this one and really hated it, and the position was really stiff and horrible and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't like how it looked. You can see the failed version on my Patreon if you're interested. I'll have a post with all my failed Inktober drawings on there. But now I really like it. I actually tweaked it again the next day. I did that for a few of my Inktobers because sleeping on it actually helps. And I actually ended up really liking it, even though it started out really rough and I was really tired and fed up when I first started drawing it. This is day 20, Torn. This one was actually quite tough to draw because, believe it or not, trying to make someone look like they're being torn and like they're made of paper is really hard. My academic side really wants to make it like a 3D form and not make it look 2D. So it was difficult to combine the body looking 3D and the face looking 2D and the position and making it look... I think it's still a bit stiff. I'd quite like to revisit this and make it a bit more dynamic, but for now it'll work and I do like it as it is anyway. This is day 21, The Turn. It's one of my personal favourites, even if it might not look like much to you, but I wanted something a bit simpler to draw, so I drew this, and I wasn't entirely sure how I wanted the backs of the figures to be. I didn't know if I wanted it to be mirrors, or if I wanted it to be steel, or if I just wanted them to be matte. I decided to go for a slightly reflective look, as you can see here, but I think because I didn't decide exactly what I wanted to do with it, it just looked a bit strange. But I might actually paint this one. I'm actually revisit the concept with paint, because with only 2 colours I find it really hard. I'm not very proficient at just using 2 colours, so I would like to visit this in colour at some point. Day 22, Your Tale. I really like this one. This character looks a bit sadder than I was intending on, but I might extend the knee and kind of close up the figure so that it would make a nice sticker, and again have the background transparent, and then maybe make those letters black, and so that it would be a nice transparent sticker composition. I'm not sure, let me know what you think. This is another one of my personal favourites. It's day 23, The Conflict. It was a bit of a spur of the moment inspiration, this one. I didn't actually overthink it too much, and I might actually paint it because I think it could look really cool in colour and in a big format, so I might revisit it in the future. You can look up the video where I'm doing the time-lapse of this if you would like to hear some bits of my own interpretation for this piece, but as always I'd love to hear your interpretations of my drawings in the description if you guys are willing to share it, because it's always amazing to hear about all the different layers that can go on top of my concepts coming from other people. This one is day 24, The Cage. So you can see that I really wanted to paint a tiger, and I actually painted it in white on top of the black instead of what would have been much easier, and me just painting the black bits. Don't ask me why. I wanted the shadow of the bars to kind of reflect a little bit of the stripes of the tiger too. And I think some people perceived the character as dead. I don't personally. I don't really tend to draw characters dead. I know that sometimes they look a bit inanimate, but it's more to kind of project passiveness rather than death. But it's really up to people, really. Again, as I said, I really like it when you all have your own interpretations on my work. This is another one that I would like to turn into a transparent sticker. I think it would look really cool if the background was translucent. But this one is day 25, Paper Cuts. I really like this one. I'll show you. When I was in high school, I used to make origami birds while I was in classes. It was just so instinctive now for me that I'd done it so much that I could just do it without looking. So I just did tons of them. And I'm thinking of maybe including them in orders or something. I had a friend who had really bad panic attacks in class, and she asked me if I could teach her how to make the birds, and I did, and it really helped her focus during lessons and not be as panicked. And I thought that was really wonderful, and I love remembering that. And so if you guys would be interested in having one of those, I was thinking I could include them in orders or something as like, you know, cute little personal addition to orders while stocks last, obviously. But these are the original ones. They're the ones I did in class years and years ago. So yeah, a little bit of trivia for you. Again, another one that could be a translucent sticker, I think could be quite cool. This one is called Adrift. I was into paper for a little while with my concepts, so I had a series of ideas that were along the paper theme. This is day 27, the wishing well. I don't know if you can see, but there's a face in the bucket. I didn't want that to be obvious, but I like that little detail personally. And I obviously had to add loads of hands because, as I said, I really like drawing hands. And it just goes with the symbolic, really. This is day 28, the gift. This could become a sticker too, I'm not entirely sure yet. It's just an easy one to outline, so I'm thinking about it. It's up on the list that you can vote for on my Patreon. This one was obviously inspired by the season, by just looking from my window and seeing all the beautiful leaves falling from the tree in our garden. Autumn is just the epitome of how I feel about the world, and I think I'm not the only one. There's just such a huge melancholic feeling about it, but everything's dying, but it's for everything to be reborn, and there's just such a close relationship between the end of things and the beginning of things that I thought I had to integrate it into a concept. And it's obviously titled Autumn. This one is one of my favourites, and I think a lot of people liked it also. It was reserved almost as soon as I published it. It's day 30, Frayed. It was actually really quite time consuming to paint, but I really enjoyed it. It's one of those tiny detail things that you kind of go into autopilot, and I really enjoyed that. And I might revisit the concept as a painting also, because I think that could look really cool in colour. And finally, this is day 31, Anew. I decided to make it reflect the last day of my 2017 Inktober series, where a woman was breaking out of her shell, and I just wanted something that was along the same kind of renewal, hopeful lines, because after a long month of doing something that's quite time-consuming and quite exhausting, I need something that feels refreshing and kind of liberating. And so, especially because my work does tend to be quite dark, I just wanted something that could kind of counterbalance that a little bit at the end, just to celebrate completing the challenge and moving on to new things that are enriched from what you've learned from the challenge. So here you go. This was the last drawing of the Inktober challenge I did this year. So yeah, there you go, a little tour of all of my Inktober drawings for this year. I only realised halfway through the month how much bigger they were from last year's. Last year's were A4, so they were a bit smaller, and these ones are actually quite big. They're almost 11 by 14, no actually they're 10 by 13 I think. So they're quite big, but I quite enjoyed the paper, and I used this paper, if any of you guys are interested in checking it out. It's hot pressed, so it's completely smooth, which is really good for inking and cross hatching. I used cold pressed paper last year and it was quite rough and it made it quite difficult to get the right lines. So I learned from that mistakes and decided to get a new kind of paper. And I have a few sheets left, so I'll be using that in the future again. So there you go, all my 2018 Inktober drawings. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the drawings. I couldn't have done it without you. It's always incredible the amount of support I receive from you all, and I can't thank you enough for being so lovely. And thank you so much for just being around and being amazing, and I genuinely appreciate you all so much. And I hope that you had a nice October, whether you participated in Inktober or not. Remember to check out the description if you would like to grab any booklets or prints or originals from my shop, and if you would like any behind the scenes you can head over to my Patreon. I will have a bunch of failed Inktober drawings on there, and I'll also show some time lapses of some of the drawings that include the sketches, which aren't usually included in my YouTube time lapses. If you're interested in seeing the process behind any of these drawings, you can head over to my YouTube to the rest of my videos. I have a time lapse for each and every one of these drawings if you haven't seen it yet. And that said, I'll see you next week for another video and a return to colour and painting, and I'm super excited and I can't wait, and I hope that I'll see you there. And in the meantime, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you very soon. Bye everyone.